Welcome to Bigger Than the Game with Deremy and Jose. I'm Deremy Dove. I'm joined by my tag team partner, the man, the
Damn
myth, the
right.
legend, the man who's always down to fight for his right to party, Mr. Jose Ruiz. What's going on, man?
What's going on, Deremy, man? It's good to be with you as always, dude. Man, I'm feeling good right now, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great because, to me, the fun part of this is that, I have an internal debate sometimes, what's more fun to, from, the avenue of, us, looking at sports history through this podcast. Is it more fun to hey, look back on a certain player, coach, or game and be like, man, people don't talk about how this really impacted so much?
Right.
Or when you're in the present and you know that you're seeing history happen. And obviously, history really, once something is finished and done, you can reflect and look back and see a greater scope of the impact. But when you can watch something live and be like, this is history making, or we're seeing something different, that's also fun too. And Jose, yesterday was Super Bowl Sunday, and we watched history, man, and it was unbelievable.
Absolutely, man. And yeah, I love doing. And we were just talking about it just now, and I love doing these. Just man, when we see somebody retires or whatever, and we kind of just jump on it, man, dude. Those are a lot of fun, man, because we just come in and just come in. You know what I'm saying? But we've talked about a lot of great players, man, a lot of great teams, coaches. We're going to continue to do that, right? But there's some times, man, when I have these internal battles too, where I'm just people on social media or immediately call somebody the best ever. That drives me nuts. But then there's some times where I'm like, is this dude the best ever? You know what I'm saying? Again, I don't know if it's the old school in me is no, not yet. You know what I'm saying? There's a couple guys, playing in today's games and a couple major sports and that really have me questioning that. And today's episode is definitely one of them. And we're here to talk about not only this new dynasty that started, but the great Patrick Mahomes, Deremy, and sheesh, this dude, man, I don't even know what words to say to even start with, man. This dude's an amazing player, man.
No, and I think that's the key, right? It's just, 'cause a lot of times he's defying so much of what the norm has been when it comes to sports history conversation the past, I'd say definitely 10, 15 years, which is, you look at it, I can go back to with Kobe being compared to Michael, and it was like, well, he may have 4 or 5. He don't have 6, and he didn't win all the finals. He's not 6-0, and then we hear that with LeBron, right? Well, he don't
Yep.
have as many, and he didn't go undefeated. And I remember, we did our last episode on Super Bowl, 49, and that the talk around then, it was like, if Brady can win that 4th one, where is he better than Montana? And the talk with that was he didn't go 4-0 like Montana. And I feel like when he won the 5th and the way he won, that ended. But even then, it was like, get that 4th. Well, Joe went 4-0. I want to ask you, why is it different where people already aren't being like, he didn't win 7 like Tom Brady, and they're saying this is maybe the best ever we're seeing? What about Patrick Mahomes is making him different for the popular sports narrative people? Why is he like that outlier?
Yeah, man, and that's a great point because you're right. People are not saying he needs to get 7. You know what I'm saying? They are not saying that, and I think. And look, I'm not here to diminish Tom Brady. He's the GOAT. You know what I'm saying? Tom Brady is to me the best quarterback of all time for now.
For now.
and but I'll keep it real with you, man, and everyone listening, man. This is the best quarterback I've ever seen in my life. Patrick Mahomes. This dude, he has it all. You know what I'm saying? But in my opinion, and we'll definitely get into all that other stuff in a little bit, but in my opinion, it's with Brady, and we've talked about this on the show a few times, you know what I mean? Where he came in and he just you didn't want him to lose you the game. You know what I'm saying? Like the Patriots had, they had all these Parcells guys, and Belichick came in and just had this defense, and he created he didn't create he had the guys already there, but his system, man, and everything, they had a great defense in New England those first 3 Super Bowls. And that first one, that upset against the Rams, it was more the defense and Tom Brady making plays right in that game. And then the more the years went on, it was just like it started to become like, now he had this great defense, and now this guy Brady is now starting to play a lot better. And towards the end of that first run, it was just like, all right, like this dude is a great quarterback too. For me with Mahomes, man, like it's like as soon as he comes in, it's stuff that we've never seen before, man. He comes in his first year, he was drafted 2017, and his first full season was 2018. Throws for 5K, 50 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Like you don't see that a lot. You know what I mean? Like out of a guy just coming into the league, and it's just the Chiefs are winning these games and these Super Bowls because of number 15. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know if I can say that about Brady or even Montana early on. I don't know. That's kind of how I look at it. You know what I'm saying? Like we knew it was because of Mahomes, and he had some talent around them too, but they were all young guys. That's kind of how I look at it, Derby. What about you?
No, I think he's done it in every way. So he's done it with just slinging it all over the place and having these weapons. He's done it where he's kind of had to dink and dunk you a little bit and not, minus Kelsey. And we can get into what Kelsey has been throughout most of this year, which was not his typical self. Now, the
Right.
playoffs was different, and props to Travis Kelsey. But this year, it was a struggle for Travis Kelsey. And he won it that way. He's won it where he's had to just manage the game and lean on the defense, but just make clutch plays. He's also, I think, in people's minds, minus maybe that second half against the Bengals in the AFC Championship game.
Yep.
He doesn't yet have that, like, what are you doing? Like, oh, you kind of choked. Like, even that Tampa Bay Super Bowl loss, you were like, the offensive line is done. So,
Yeah.
and he had
had 0 time.
Yeah, and he was hurt. So no one really looked at him. That first year, like you said, in 2018, as AFC Championship game, if D4 doesn't go off size, he's in another Super Bowl there. So he doesn't also have that, that bad playoff, oh man, he had 4 interceptions or he didn't show up. He doesn't have that yet, either. So I think that's where it's different also. He just, the way he's doing it, and you can't poke a hole at it. You could maybe say at first, like the Tyreek Hill, he had him and Kelsey. So, a generational type receiver, a GOAT status tight end is like, and Andy Reid and all that. Okay. But now it's like those receivers, it wasn't good last year when they got that second Super Bowl, and they're even worse this year.
Yeah.
And Travis Kelsey went down, and to the point where, and I love Travis Kelsey. I'm really happy for his superstardom success, but I was kind of like, is this a distraction?
Yeah.
Is having all that, is this a lot with the big podcast with Taylor Swift? But he showed why he's a GOAT and he's a future Hall of Famer and why he's a champion, in this playoff run. So it's just like that he's been able to do it in just every way possible and always coming from behind too. It's just been amazing.
Yeah, it's 10 points down. I mean, back-to-back Super Bowls, they were down 10 this Super Bowl, I can't even remember. It was not 20 less than 24 hours ago, but I don't know if they were down 10. They were down 10 at one point.
Done it through all 3 times.
Yeah, so it's just think about that. You know what I mean? And you talk about, you're playing the best of the best in these Super Bowls, and the best defenses, the best coordinators, you know what I mean? And to be behind by double digits and still come back and win. And in both these games, all 3 of these Super Bowls, but it's in particular, these last 2, I remember the halftime of the Eagles game, I was like, man, we might be all right here. You know what I'm saying? They keep running the ball and stuff like that. And then this guy's going to bring them back. You know what I'm saying? And then yesterday, watching the Super Bowl, I'm like, that's not a big enough lead, man. Y'all had an opportunity, to make some plays, and the 49ers did not. And, the McCaffrey fumble and things like that. That was a really tough one, but you can't never count this team out, man. And to your point also, Deremy, like there's a lot of stuff that I'm reading, like when people compare Brady to Mahomes, is like Brady did not walk into Tyreek Hill, Kelsey, and even we can add Andy Reid. I know Brady with Belichick, but still, like that's more of a defensive minded head coach, and Andy's an offensive genius. You know what I mean? Like, so I get that argument, and Tom Brady had Givens and like all these other no-name receivers, Troy Brown, like that he made things work with, so I get where people come with that. But now, like you said, it's flipped now for Mahomes. Like, these wide receivers that he has, like they don't start in a lot of teams. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he made all that work. And when the league adjusted and the league started to notice, like, all right, these guys don't have 0 wide receivers. We're just going to double Kelsey. And that 6-week run that they went on where they were really struggling with teams. And then Andy made that switch in the playoffs, and he went to like 3 tight ends, and it was moving Kelsey all over the place. And it's just that combination of Reid Mahomes is incredible.
No, it really is, and it's just you look at what Pat Mahomes has done. I'll be honest, right? So last year there was a lot, and I kind of saw a little bit, but I felt like they overblew it. Like they hyped it up too much, where they were like, people were hating on us, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, there's a little bit of talk because Tyreek Hill had gone,
Yeah,
but I'm like, people didn't say like you're done. It's just like how can you? And it's a good question because you didn't get another like top receiver, but they made it work, and they were a top team. I mean, they had home field
yeah,
throughout for the playoffs, so it was kind of like, I thought that was too
yeah,
much. This year, no.
yeah,
Um, that Christmas Day loss to the Raiders, that was when it hit me. Like I felt like they were still going to get into the playoffs, but I'm like, they're not going. I'm like, they lost to the Raiders like that, like, and Kelsey with the helmet, and Andy was like, no, he gets his own helmet. I go, they're having some issues here, and the Tony lining up, off, he was offsides, and just all the drops, and Valdez Scantling dropping against the Eagles on Monday night.
they
That
win that
Packer
game.
loss,
Yeah,
yeah, they lost with the Packers at Lambeau on Sunday night. I was just like, this team, yeah, they got to reach. And I didn't think that they couldn't get back there, but I'm just like, and the thing that people focused on with this squad was the receivers and how bad they were. But I looked at the 2 tackles on the old, me,
yeah,
Jose. I love the O line.
yeah,
Those 2 tackles were not good last year. Who they had in there was like whatever, but this year they were awful. And in
yep,
that Super Bowl, they were awful.
they were awful. Yeah,
And that impressed me more because I thought the Niners were going to win when I saw that Joe Thuney was going to be out, the guard, and like he's a good guard,
yeah,
Pro Bowl level guard, and I'm like, he's out. I was like, so now you got 2 bad tackles and you got to back up in at left guard. I'm like, this is going to be rough. And to me, the first half, it was a miracle that it was so close because the Niners so outplayed them that first half.
yeah. But that first half, I give a ton of credit to one of the best defensive coordinators of all time, and that's Steve Spagnuolo. Like, people, I know he had that, that head coaching experience with the Rams, and it was terrible. You know what I mean?
It
Like,
was bad.
and the crazy part is like, this has been this back-to-back Super Bowl champs, and nobody's plucking these coordinators from them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get Andy Reid's pretty much the offensive coordinator, but you have Matt Nagy there who used to be a head coach, and that's great experience. And before, he wasn't a good head coach,
But to
but
say,
you know,
I kind of get why.
yeah,
I
so
kind
do
of get
I.
why.
But that's still experience, man, that you can't buy. Before he became that head coach with the Bears, he was a top offensive candidate, like, and that's why he was hired. But still, some guys are not made to be head coaches. He could be
Right.
a good coordinator, But
Mm-hmm.
again, we all know it's Andy's offense. He's, doing his thing. But I wanted to give a shout out definitely to Spags here in this episode too, man. Like four Super Bowl championship as a defensive coordinator, that puts him up there on high up on the list as well. So I give a lot of credit to Spags, right, for that first half, because you're right. They were definitely outplayed. 49ers were running on them, and McCaffrey looks great. And I'm like, this is going to be a Super Bowl MVP right here. Like, this dude. And he had a great game. He had like 160 total yards, and he's a great player too, man. But, that fumble killed them. And then they were just, that red zone offense. And for the Chiefs, the red zone defense was really played really well. So, we give Mahomes credit, but we got to. This
Absolutely.
last game was definitely a team effort, and that defense was outstanding too.
The whole playoff run, and this to me is a playoff run. This one has to be the sweetest of all the
Yeah,
titles because you can look at it from each game. You look at that Miami game; they were home, but it's still the fourth coldest game in NFL history. I mean, it just looked. I asked so many people, Jose, like if you had tickets for free,
nah, I'm not
would you
going to
go? And
that.
I'm like, there's no way I'm going out there. I'm like, there's
It was
no.
like 12 people that were hospitalized with frostbite for that game.
Yeah, like there's no way. I ain't gonna lie. I even gave Taylor Swift credit for going to the box. I'm like, I don't want to go out. I wouldn't want to go outside.
Yeah,
I'm like, she braver than me. I'm like, I just be, hey, I'm watching you from TV from home. Like, I'll see you after the game. Like, I ain't going out there. Like, -4 and the wind chill. Like, it just looked awful. So
yeah, it did.
to perform in that game, then that we know what happened in Buffalo the next week and how impressive that was, and the game plan on both sides of the ball. But what Mahomes and Kelsey just came alive, that connection was great. Then the AFC Championship game against Baltimore looked like a juggernaut, and Mahomes
Yeah,
and Kelsey, they did enough to get that lead in the first half. Baltimore tightened up that D in the second half, but guess what? The D stepped up, shut down Lamar, and they move on. And then we get to this, maybe the biggest obstacle because they looked so bad that first half. I mean,
yeah,
Kelsey, and they also, you could tell they were getting dominated in the line of scrimmage. And then their body language, we all know about Kelsey and the bump. Like, we could see
yeah.
Mahomes frustrated after Pacheco's fumble. Like, that's what impressed me, too. A lot of teams would have folded and never bounced back. The fact that they were able to rally back was just unbelievable.
Yeah, man, and they beat the two best teams in the league back to back. Not back to back weeks, but back to back games, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody looked at that Baltimore 49ers. Those two teams were the best two teams in the league, and rightfully so because they were. They dominated all season. Both their teams dominated both their conferences and stuff, and they went into Baltimore. You know what I mean? And they went into Buffalo and beat Buffalo, and everybody thought Buffalo was playing really well. Josh Allen was playing great, and I was like, man, this Josh Allen, like now we got to start having that conversation again. Is it Allen or Mahomes? Like, and that's not happening. He's 2-0 against Josh Allen in the playoffs. So, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they go into Baltimore, beat that team against that great defense, man. And, even the Super Bowl, you mentioned the first half, like Kelsey had one catch, and that was a screen, like a tight end screen kind of, and he got 1 yard on that. So that adjustment at halftime made by Andy and the rest of that staff, man, like just those adjustments made on both sides of the ball by Andy and the offensive, staff and Spags and defense and stuff like that when they started really coming after Purdy. It was just masterful stuff, man. And again, you're looking at, and I'm thinking too, if the 49ers win the Super Bowl, is Kyle Shanahan the best coach in the league? You know what I mean? Like, I don't
You were
know.
thinking that.
I was already like, my mind was already like, all right, is this
Oh,
dude like
wow.
taking over? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is he taking over? And that's not the case. You know what I mean? Like, that's definitely not the case. So, we got to respect Andy Reid and what he's still doing, man. But those adjustments at halftime, man, just changed everything for the Chiefs.
Yeah, and I think to credit Andy, and for those listening, we have a couple episodes on Andy Reid's legacy, and I feel like we got to do that.
Probably
And
another one coming. Yeah.
looking at it again, and we're just going to keep on doing it. But I love it. It's been cool. Like, we do this with players a lot, where we're like, we can see them getting better over time. Like, wow, remember when they used to struggle with this, but now they're doing that. Andy Reid is in the same category here of he was a great coach in Philadelphia, but he had his flaws and they were blaring. The time man, he's still got time management issues here, but he's a lot better
It's
with that.
much better. Yeah.
Much is nowhere near as outrageous as it was in Philly. Making the right decision. I thought it was clutch by him to lean on Butker in that game.
Yep.
And those moments and not try to just go for it, but like you have this great kicker who I think, side note, he also cemented that he's a Hall of Fame kicker.
Absolutely.
Last
Thank
night.
you. Yes, I was
Yeah.
thinking the same thing, man. Like
he's in
this
the
dude
Hall of
is
Fame.
so clutch. So clutch.
So it's like, I'm glad we're on the same. I'm like, Butker's going to be in the Hall of Fame, man.
Yeah.
I've always loved him. But it's just like, he's just gotten so much better as a coach. And I know people could say, "Well, you got Pat Mahomes," which is true to an extent. Don't get me
Right.
wrong; like you got a GOAT level quarterback, but he's making these adjustments at halftime. And Andy was good. Like, oh, you give him a week or 2 weeks, he's great to break down. He's gotten better where halftime you can easily see the changes offensively to what the game plan is, to what they're doing, to adapting, and these defenses, these top defenses, aren't ready for it.
Right. And that was one that you talked about time management and also like his time in Philly, right? Like his like stubbornness, I guess, quote unquote, right? Where it's like, no, this is my offense and I'm not really adjusting it at all. And, you know, in Kansas City, that changed. You know what I mean? Like there's games where they're running the ball with Pacheco 30 times, and even that, like, shout out to my Puerto Rican brother, Isaiah Pacheco, but he's not a good running back. Like he's decent, but he kind of fits what they do. And, so even that, like having like pretty much, I don't want to say no run game because that offensive line is good, especially in the interior offensive line. But he makes those adjustments. And even like there was like that 3rd-and-1 where everybody knew they were going to run the ball, and it's like a Mahomes play action, and he takes off with it. You know what I'm saying? Like for like 22 yards. It's just all those little. Even the game-winning touchdown was a beautiful play, man. Like with Kelsey out, and everybody ran to Kelsey, and whatchamacallit was wide open, man. So Rice was wide open. So it's just like, man, like those, just the play design, and like he still's got the shovel pass in there, but now there's like stuff off the shovel pass. It's Andy's the man.
He really is, and Andy's the man, past the man, Travis. Like this, it's just you're not supposed to see this in football.
Nope.
It's basketball. It's like, all right, this team is better, but this other team has like the 2 best players on the floor. So they're going to Shaq and Kobe. It made sense. We talked about in the past Lakers Kings in 02.
Yep.
The Kings were a better team, but the 2 best players in the series were Shaq and Kobe, and that's what got them over the hump, really. It's like in football, you don't really say that, but you can obviously, I think outside of the Dolphins, I could look at it and be like, the Bills are a better roster. Definitely the Ravens, definitely the Niners.
Yep.
I think when everyone picking the Chiefs this week, none of it was logic, in my opinion, because logically the better roster was San Fran. It was just that you have Mahomes and Andy Reid and Kelsey. That's why we're picking the Chiefs. That's it.
Yeah, I mean they were underdogs at Buffalo, they were underdogs at Baltimore, and rightfully so. And they were, I think the spread was like 2 points. The San Fran was getting 2 points, something like that, 1.5. So, and they were riding that disrespectful wave, man. That teams can hold on to, and really like can galvanize the troops, as they say, man. And teams hold on to that. Like the Eagles did it in 2017, right, with the dog mask and all that stuff. Like it was just people when they feel like they're disrespected, man, and they can really ride that'll elevate their games, man. And that's all you kept hearing at these Super Bowl like post-game interviews and things like that. Like, the disrespect for us, we were the champs. Like, people counted us out, which they did. You talked about it, Deremy, but I think rightfully so. You know what I'm saying? Like, because they were really struggling throughout the year, and but they hit that switch, man, in playoff time, and they definitely weren't playing like this in the middle of the season for sure.
No, something about him where he's Brett Favre, but without the costly mistakes.
Right.
Because Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion, does a lot of things that I would say if you have a young son, young man, you're coaching quarterback, it's like if they're watching Mahomes, it's like, yeah, he did that, but you shouldn't do that.
Yep.
And Brett Favre to me was the king of that, where he had a lot of things where it's like it worked, but it's like if you're teaching a quarterback, it's like you shouldn't do that. It worked for him because it just, who knows? It's just Brett just whips it in there, but don't do that. But Brett also cost you a lot of games.
Yep.
And Brett's going to give you crazy interceptions and just bad timed interceptions. Pat Mahomes does things that you can't explain, but he's not costing you to. I mean, that play in the Super Bowl where like late in the fourth, when was it the fourth or overtime, when he runs up the middle.
Yeah.
And like it's like, oh, Tony Romo was right. It's like that's not the right move.
Yeah,
and I'm
like a lot of time went off the clock.
Yeah, but he overcame that. It's like
Yep.
that didn't hurt him, and I think if that's Lamar, if that's Josh Allen, that play hurts them.
Yep.
But it didn't hurt him. Like he just did things that like it's like, ooh, I would tell every other quarterback, don't do that, but he can get away with it. He just does it.
Yeah, and even his like mobility, like, you know, we don't talk about him when it comes to like guys who can scramble. Like we go to like the Lamars and Hurts, and even Josh Allen is great when, you know, on the run and things like that. And we have so many quarterbacks now that are like that. But this guy's just like one of the most mobile quarterbacks I've ever seen. Like he's like always when there's pressure, he gets out of it. And it's not even I was thinking about it, man, like today, like it's like you know how like you have your like your older brother, right? You're playing football with your friends, but your older brother comes and he starts to play, and nobody can like tackle him, and it's like he's not even doing a whole lot. It's just like whoop whoop, and you're like guys are like falling, all your friends like. That's how I feel like with him. Like it's like he's out there and dudes are chasing him to knock his head off, and he just makes one little move, couple little steps, and then sidearm 30-yard pass to Kelsey. Man, it's amazing how he escapes all the time. Like now they were getting to him in that first half. I'll say that. I'll give the 49ers credit. That D-line was incredible, but the second half they couldn't get to him, and he was running. He had 64 yards rushing. You know what I mean? Like he threw for over 300 and had 64 yards rushing, dude. Like that's a great performance.
And he's doing it with like these tackles who I was just watching were just terrible.
Yeah,
And
they
to
were
me, the
getting
big
eaten up.
adjustment in the second half was you're putting out 2 and 3 tight ends to really chip on like Bosa and to stop the pass rush and kind of have them go. So he's doing it like a bunch tight end set.
Yeah.
Like Pat has that. He's playing with that. I mean, some of those runs were just, I mean, because I was like, bro, slide, but then he's just plowing into people to get their
Putting
first
his
down.
shoulder. Yeah.
Like he put the team on his back, and I mean, Kelsey came alive in that second half too. Don't get me wrong, but that was the defense. And you're right, the defense is number one of why they won. But Mahomes was right there too. Like he's right. It's like the defense and Pat Mahomes just making it work, and Pat's doing it with less. Like, I haven't done I'm like the research on it, but I'm like, is there a quarterback with less around them offensively who we've seen win a Super Bowl? Like I don't know.
Some of them New England offenses. I'll give Brady credit too, man. Like he didn't have much either, man. So
I feel like in Super Bowl 36, maybe a little bit there, but the rest of them, I'll take his off because his offensive line was good.
always good. Yeah.
So then he didn't have that, and then Troy Brown and they're way better than what the receivers Mahomes has.
Yes.
Way
This
better.
year, yeah.
Like I'm talking about for this year, like not like the other year. Yeah, they're way better. New England didn't have Brady's first Super Bowl. He didn't have receivers who you were like they should be benched. Like, you know, we didn't say that. They weren't superstars, but I'm not like David Givens shouldn't be out there. It's like Tony should not be on the field.
Yeah. At least he wasn't on the
Scantling.
field.
Yeah, it's like he shouldn't be on the field. Like these guys they need to be benched. Like they're hurting you. We've never said about Tom Brady's group. Like I can't remember.
Yeah, Deion Branch is a nice player.
He was good.
Deion Branch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super Bowl MVP one year. So yeah, I mean, but you have the ultimate mismatch on your offense when it comes to Kelsey, man, and you can do so much off of that. But I just felt like the 49ers were doing what a lot of teams were doing in the middle of the season to the Chiefs, where they were kind of like throwing a couple guys at them. And, you know, they had Greenlaw out there now, and I know he got hurt, and that was super unfortunate, man. I felt terrible for that dude, man, because he's a nasty hitter, man. I like watching him play, man. Him and Warner together, that's a dynamic linebacker group right there. Now there's only two dozen linebacker groups nowadays, but, you know, like, even Warner's an amazing player, but Kelsey was giving him work too that second half, man. And it's just, man, like, you're right. Like, those wide receivers were terrible, man. And, you know, but they were making it work with those tight ends, those 3 tight end sets, man. If you just think about that, dude. Like, that was the majority of their offense that second half, man. And it worked.
And he found a way. And that's the thing. It was just, to me, that was MJ Game 6, 98 finals against the Jazz,
Yep.
where it's not, you won't say that's MJ's prettiest game. He scored more points. He's done a lot of things, but to me, that's MJ's greatest game because that was all. It was really all him.
Yeah.
And that's what I saw Mahomes doing last night. He had, Kelsey stepped up, but you look at what Kelsey did. His numbers aren't huge, and if you look at it, like they're not crazy huge.
Yeah, what do you
Not
have,
like
98 yards in the second half, something like
yeah,
that? I mean, that's a nice second half, but he's the only guy they're throwing to. You know what I mean? So
and it's not what he had in the previous 2 games where
no.
he was playing huge in those games. Like it was different. It was, and I do believe. I'm not going to say he would have shut him down. I think Travis has shown he comes up big. If Greenlaw's out there, Kelsey isn't doing that in the second half.
It's a tougher second half for sure. And
he's not doing that.
I'm not saying he's the greatest cover linebacker, but he's good, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
he's better at covering than Warner is.
Yes. So, you have those two guys out there, and it's like anything you catch, they're on you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like immediately. But look at even in the AFC Championship game, right? You got those linebackers for Baltimore. He's giving them work. You know what I'm saying? Like,
he was.
It's just, he's also incredible too, man. And obviously we're giving all these guys credit today, and I know the episode is pretty much based on Patrick Mahomes and what we feel like what we're watching. You know what I'm saying? Like, but same thing we can say about Travis Kelce. Like what we're watching there is, we've seen a lot of great tight ends, Deremy, right? Like Gonzalez, Gates, Shannon, Sharp, like, all those guys, man. This is the best one I've ever seen too.
He's up there. I go 1 and 2 with him and Gronk.
Yes, and Gronk.
The only thing with Gronk is that Gronk blocked,
right?
And so it's like Travis doesn't
block
well.
You know what I'm saying?
He was a great blocker. Yeah. So it's tough, but they're 1 and 2. But what Travis is doing, just receiving and keeping it going, and all these records he's breaking, it's hard to not give it to him in a way. Like I go back and forth because me with like the O-line and block, and I just love traditional tight ends who did both. Like that was just key. Like outside of all, I love the O-line and I love tight. Those are like my two. Like you love like DBs and like receivers. I was O-line and tight ends. Those like I just gravitated to that position. So it hurts me a little bit when I see a tight end who it's like he's an amazing pass catcher, but he doesn't block. It's like it hurts a little bit. But Travis Kelce's amazing. He really is, and you can't take anything away from what he did this whole playoff run. Like with a lot of pressure on him because some of it he put on himself. I mean, that's
right.
who he decides to date. That's his business. But you kind of know you're going to get a lot of attention, and he's one of the most famous people on the planet right now.
Yeah. I mean, there's girls watching that, his podcast with, him and his brother. And it's like, he's a popular dude. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he's on another level. He's the most popular guy in the NFL. Like,
yes,
easily, and, I think he's up there at this point with LeBron right now, currently, like those guys, like popularity wise, like
for sure.
He's there, you know what I'm saying? And good for him. And he seems like the type of dude that can handle that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's cool to see too.
And that's what kind of made me concerned because I agree with everything you said. He wasn't Travis Kelce this year. Like, that was noticeable. Like, he's just not him. And part of me was also like, you know what? Time has really flown. It's like he has been in the league for a while.
Yeah.
So it's like part of me thought like give him a little bit of break. Like he is getting older. Maybe it's catching up a little bit. But I was kind of like, man, are the Chiefs? Like part of me wondered deep down, and I think they didn't. But for a while, I was like, is Andy and Brett Veach and like even like the Hunt family, like they're saying the right things, but are they like maybe this might be a distract? Like I'm like, if that losing streak, were they like, is this Swift Kelce thing too much? But I believe them now. That I think it didn't bother them. They were cool with it. I really do believe it.
And I think also it starts at the top, man. Like with the quarterback, and he's also a guy because we've seen we've seen it with the Eagles. I was just going to always reference a lot of these situations with the Eagles. We've seen a lot with that team, and like the McNabb T.O. thing, right? And this is completely different. But what I'm trying to say here is there's quarterbacks out here that if the other guy's getting all the attention and love, which T.O. was getting that 2004 season, and rightfully so because he was having an amazing season. But it seems like that does not bother Mahomes. You know what I'm saying? Like how it bothered McNabb, and all that stuff happened, and they had to tear that team apart kind of because of that situation. I think it also speaks like well to Mahomes that he's just like, yeah, like this is my guy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they're brothers, you know what I mean? They call each other brothers. Their girlfriend and wife hang out in the box, and the brother too. And, like he's all cool with that. And he just goes with the flow when it comes to all of that too. And he's like, all right, I'm going to let this dude be like the wild guy and get all the attention. And I'm just going to be the best player in the league. You know what I'm saying? Like, and allow him to get all the credit. And even though we see Kelsey, we see Mahomes, and we even see our guy Big Red in all these commercials now, you know what I mean? And Mahomes is the popular dude. Like, but I think it says a lot to me, like, that the best player on the team can be like, all right, you get all the fame, and I'm just going to do my thing here, man.
Yeah, he has that confidence in himself.
Right.
And Jose, I gotta ask, because we look at it with like the Andy Reid episodes. We kind of were like, the first one we did after they won their first Super Bowl, what tier is he on? Then they got the second Super Bowl, so we're like, he's in the top 10. Where is he ranked there?
Yeah.
Part of me is like, I want to do that with you with Mahomes, but like, do you think like automatic is he a top 5 quarterback of all time right now?
I'm going to say this statement first before I make my decision, because I did think about this. And this is not to you. Like, this is to the listeners, man. Like,
Yeah.
if you never listened to the show before, first of all, welcome, man. And second of all, we are not guys who get caught up in like recency bias. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we make sure, man, we put you through the test, and we analyze a lot of stuff, man. We compare you. If you listen to the show, we do that all the time, man. Right now, this dude to me is the third best quarterback of all time. Like, and I can't, I'm not putting him ahead of Brady, obviously. I think Brady's number one. And like head to head, Brady's 2-0 in the playoffs. Well, 1-0 in the playoffs, and then 1-0 in the Super Bowl. And I got Mahomes right on Montana's neck. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think you still got to give Montana his credit too, and I'm a dude that loves like John Elway. I think John Elway, if I can like just package a quarterback, that'd be my guy. But Mahomes is right there with him, man. Like, he does all that stuff Elway did. He has a cannon arm. Like, he can move around. Like, it's to me, he's number 3 easily.
Yeah, because I thought, and I do think Elway is above. I put Elway over Peyton Manning.
Ooh, that's tough for me. I'm a huge Peyton guy, but I love Elway too, man.
I just think if there's anyone who has taken a team, and
yes,
those teams he didn't win,
yes,
but had less, John Elway's the number 1 guy.
If you want to look at wide receivers and running backs and personnel, go look at them Broncos 80s teams that he was taking and going up against Montana with. And
even those, you can't say a lot of like great defenders he had on the other side either.
Right.
So like Elway,
and you saw what he can do when he had the talent. Back, you know what I'm saying? Back-to-back champs.
Right. So I think he's up there. Elway did that. I put him over Peyton, and I put him over Aaron Rodgers is up there, but I put
I'm
Elway over him. I think that I got Mahomes over Aaron Rodgers. I got Mahomes over, which is hard to say, over Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
And there's 2 guys who were tough for me. It was Elway, and I'm like, I'm still not sure. I mean, Mahomes. Elway has 5 Super Bowl appearances.
Yeah. He got 2 wins, but he's been there 5 times, man. That's a good number.
Yeah. And the guy who gets overlooked to me the most of like that elite all-time GOAT status is people overlook Johnny Unitas.
Yeah, true. Very true.
To me, Unitas is, if you look at now there's quarterbacks before him who were great. You go Sammy Ball and Otto Graham. The guy who, to me, started what the modern quarterback is, and today it's Johnny Unitas. And if you look at what he has 4 championships. Now, 3 of them were pre the Super Bowl
Super
era,
Bowl. Yep.
but that still counts. You're
Yeah,
still
absolutely. Yeah.
so he's got 4 rings, and so I think Unitas gets overlooked way too much. And I might put him 4th. I might put him behind Unitas. I think he's close. He's on the neck of Unitas and Montana. Brady won, but I got Mahomes 4th. He's a top 5 quarterback. If he decided for whatever crazy reason I don't want to play this game anymore, he's there. He's there. It's just unbelievable.
Is he a Hall of Famer if he retires today?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All 3 to me, as of now, if they have, let's see, including the coach, you got 1, 2. You got, I would say, automatically right now, I would put Bucker, Reed, Mahomes, Kelsey, and I'm not sure about Chris. Chris Jones is close.
He's getting there too.
Yeah,
like,
Chris Jones is close.
That's a bad dude, man. He might be leaving next year, but that dude, man.
He's something because he's clutch. He's a clutch defensive player.
Yeah, D lineman. I know, man. Like if it's 3rd and 6 and it's like a big play, he doesn't get to the quarterback. He's batting that ball down, man. Like he's like. Now I love guys like, Aaron Donald's a great player, like stuff like that. But he's just as good as these guys, man. But again, in big moments, he's always there.
Always getting the big tip, him in the passing lane, like just making big plays. And
right, because what other D linemen do they have?
They not every down. No, they didn't have it.
Right.
And let's be real. This year he had the boys behind. He had those dogs with him.
Oh yeah.
The other years, it was him.
Yep.
And like Honey Badger could make some plays. Those defenses weren't good, honestly.
No,
it was like Chris Jones made plays and Honey Badger, and that was it.
Right now they got the best secondary in the league, in my opinion.
Yeah, and they're young.
And they're young, man. Now, I know Snead's a free agent. Possibly, I would love the Eagles to sign him, but yeah, that secondary. Now you got that secondary that is going to help Chris Jones out. And again, I think like a lot of reports saying that he's going to test free agency, stuff like that. But that's again, man, like Andy getting these O linemen, D linemen, man, like he's done it all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like he's such a great evaluator of those linemen, man. Like both defensive and offensive linemen, man, where he does not get a lot of credit in there. I mean, you just think about just the defensive tackles he's drafted, man, like in his career, like those old linemen that he's drafted. He's had some misses, but who doesn't? But his hits are like all pro for like 6-7 years hits. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just great, man. And again, like, so that's 4 out of a possible 5 lock Hall of Famers on that team already right now. And again, like if the secondary continues to grow and get better, Spags stays there for a couple more years. Who knows? I'm not calling them Snead or none of them dude, McDuffie or whatever his name is, Hall of Famers, like, but you never know, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they're great players already, so all pro players. So that team is low key loaded, but it's just certain areas where the famous areas like the wide receiver, running back, like that's where they struggle at. But when you got Mahomes, Kelsey, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Now, is this the greatest coach-quarterback combination ever? Mahomes and Reed?
Not yet. It's close though, man. It's so close, so close, so close. I know we did, episode on the 49ers Bengals Super Bowl, and talked a lot about like Montana and Walsh, and I know that was Seifert Super Bowl, but we talked a lot about Bill Walsh and Montana. I think to me that's the one. That's the one. Like that's the one right there for me. Still to this day, but that's 3 Super Bowls there. Reed and Mahomes have 3. I just think also like, and we talked about it during those episodes, like that, like the evolution of like that West Coast offense and all that, and those 2 guys having such like their hands in it so much, man. I just think kind of gets them a notch above Reed and Mahomes right now.
What about Belichick, Brady?
See, that's I mean, that's the one, right? Like that's the other one. You know what I'm saying? Like there's 7 Super Bowls.
6.
6. Sorry, there's 6 Super Bowls, and But to me, like I don't think of them like as like I know that's the combination because that's the head coach, but like I don't know, like I don't look at them the same way. You know what I mean? Like if I look at like an offensive coach with the quarterback, you know what I mean? Like because I think they work together a lot more than maybe Brady and Belichick did.
But Brady and Belichick did work a lot together.
They did, I know, because
They did work.
all those like documentaries and things like that, they're always together in the office breaking
Yeah, they
stuff
sitting
down.
down and he,
Yeah,
his defensive mind. And I think where I first heard it was because I'll be honest, when I watched the Colts and those Peyton Manning when Tony, I go, what does Dungy say to Peyton? I'm like, is this really like Tony's with the defense and he's like the overseer, but it's Peyton with like Tom Moore and little Howard Mudd sprinkled in there. But like Peyton said, Tony Dungy, his defensive mind helped him get better because he could show him different defenses and what they're doing to attack him. And he talked about how Tony was really valuable. Like that defensive mind helped him to get better because he gets to see, oh, this is what this defense does. This is how I get out. Like it just helped him. And I think Belichick did that for Brady too. Just that. And Belichick is a rare coach where he's coached he was a
yeah,
tight ends coach. He
yep,
knows offense too. Like so I think he and I might have said it in the past, like, yeah, held it against him, but it still is the one. You got to give Belichick and Brady because they have two separate dynasties together. I mean, that's incredible.
yeah, that is incredible. I just always like you said, like I've known they work. I mean, I've seen it. Like I've seen it on a few documentaries and things like that. I just never, when I think of coach quarterback combination, is always like my head goes offensive like minded head coach. But no, like these two, Reed and Mahomes, they're when this is all said and done, they're going to be, I think, number one.
So you have them right now third. I have them fourth currently. It might be hard to answer, but a lot of times it's tough when we're looking at a great player, a great coach, and it's like, we talked about it. We evaluate. We're like, no, they're not there yet. And I know for me, people have asked me, well, what would it take for them to be over? And that can be hard to answer because there's a lot of variables and stuff. So I know this might be hard to answer, but I'm wondering for you, what will it take for Mahomes to be number one?
Hmm. Man, that is a tough one to answer because the easy answer was he's got to match Brady's Super Bowls, right? But I don't think he does. Like honestly, I think if he gets two more, I think, and they don't have to be in the next 3 years or nothing like that. It could be one in 5 years and another 7, 8 years. Like I think if he gets two more, and then because Kelsey's what he's 10 years in the league at this point, I think maybe or 11. Um, yeah, if he can get two more and just continue this play like the way he's been playing, man, I think it's a slam dunk for me. He catches Brady.
Yeah, I guess it's two more, but there is a difference. There's and if it's two more and he's like leading
Right,
the
right.
like if he's like just if he has one more if he has two more that's great of course, but if like one of them he was like he's the man, the other one is kind of like
Yeah,
he's
he's
going
being
along for the
carried.
ride.
Yeah,
Like I mean Peyton Manning technically has two. That Denver one he got carried along. And I hate to say I don't want to say it hurts you because you won. Like I don't want to knock Peyton or anybody like, but it's not the same for me. It's different. Where like you're clearly being carried. Like you're not even like a complimentary. It was like that game against like Carolina. The defense was so great. Second half is like Peyton just don't throw the football.
yeah.
Like just hand
Don't
it
throw them
off.
ducks anymore. Yeah,
Yeah,
just
like just don't do that. So it's just like if Mahomes though is the like a lead dog on two more titles, I agree. He doesn't need seven. Doesn't need I think two. And it doesn't have to be like you said. Doesn't have to be in a row or like
right.
now, but just two more. I don't even care if the stats are amazing. Honestly, you don't have to have like all time passing yards or any of those things, or get like the touchdown record. That doesn't matter to me. It's can he do this again with a couple more times? Yeah, he's number one.
Yeah, what is he, 7 years in? You know what I mean? Right now, it's definitely doable. I think though, like, I don't know how long, and I think Mahomes is keeping Coach Reed around. Like, what I'm saying? I think that's obvious, but I don't know how much longer Andy's going to be coaching. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that's where also,
I think he's got 5 more years.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I say that's a good number. I agree with that. So you would have to get 2 and 5 because I don't know. But if Reed leaves and he wins another one, like even if it's just one more, I think I'm gonna like
If
if
he
if
wins
he
without Andy
with
Reid, you say,
Andy, yeah, yeah, like
which will be
I
huge.
yeah, that'll like to me count for I guess two, So there's a lot again, like you mentioned, it's a hard question to answer, but I think there are a couple scenarios there where it'll definitely if one more puts him over Montana, that's obvious. But I think if he gets the two, and if he definitely gets them in like 5 or 6 years, like man, like
Let me ask you this to counter you real quick. Well, we talked about like what they had to overcome, and the off season is what, maybe almost 24 hours old as of now when we're recording this. So there's a lot of moves to be made, free agency, draft, yada yada yada. The way we're talking about these guys, what would it mean to you though if the Chiefs got a three-peat? If they win it next year,
oh yeah,
does he not need to have two then? If he gets a three-peat, say he gets a three-peat and he doesn't win another Super Bowl after that, does that three-peat make him now? He makes history. Does
that's
that make
history.
him the GOAT?
Yeah, I think so. I think that counts as three. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it does, man. Like nobody's done that. You know what I'm saying? Like none of the greats have done that. And they wanted to do that. You know what I mean? Like those, they've been close. You know what I mean? Like, but nobody's done it. If you do something like that nobody has ever done, then that's a different level and that's a different you have your own like tier at that point. You know what I mean? Like and they can do it. You know what I'm saying? Like if they keep a couple guys and you know, they add a wide receiver maybe or two, like it's definitely doable, man. And but yeah, I think that he's number one. What do you think, Deremy?
I think it's three-peat would be tough to, just because I feel like the Packers. It wasn't a Super Bowl era,
Right.
but it was part Super Bowl era. They did it in the '60s, but you know it just would be different because something I noticed about these dynasties and all that. You can look at a dynasty, and where you talk about the quarterback shows you, it tells you about that dynasty, but it shows you where that quarterback is. So we talk about the '60s Packers. Barstar is a great player, all that, but you don't lead. You lead with Lombardi and just
Yeah.
that group.
Yep.
The '70s Steelers, right? You talk about the defense in Swans. You mentioned Bradshaw, but you don't go there. Go to the Niners. What do you say? Walsh, Montana. That's what you start with. Jerry Rice didn't come, but he was only there for the last two of those '80s run. So it's like Walsh, Montana. Go to the '90s. The triplets, Jimmy, Jerry. Like, you don't say Troy.
Right.
In the 2000s, even, there's a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about Belichick. Brady's in there, but you say Vrabel, Richard Seymour, Rodney Harrison, McGinnis, Teddy Bruschi. You hear all those names with that first three. Brady's kind of like, he's mentioned, but he's not like standalone. You go to that last one, the 2010s, what do you say? Belichick, Brady.
Yep.
Like, you throw in
Yep.
like Gronk.
And
Like,
Gronk.
that's
Yep.
it. Like, there's a difference. So I feel like this is impressive because it's not like the Chiefs. You got like,
Mm-mm.
and Patrick. It's like, what do you say? You talk about Patrick Mahomes. First name, Mahomes.
Yeah.
So he's the guy for this dynasty. It's not like all these other great players throwing it. It's Mahomes.
Right.
So to get a three-peat is awesome.
Right. There's no like evolution of like him getting better and better and then like, oh, this is the guy. No, this was the guy from the first game he started that 2018 season. And like, I think he played one game 2017, but that 2018 is when he started. And he's been the guy, the man, the best player on that team. the best player in the league since 2018. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's what I agree with you, Deremy. That's what I meant earlier, where it's just like no, like it's him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then yes, he's had some great pieces around him, but let's look at some of those games that he's had and some of those plays that he's made, and it's just it's him. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's where it starts at, and then we can probably circle back around and end it with him too. So no, I agree, 100%.
It's something. He's right now, and I'll be honest, I thought this guy was great, but it took what we saw this playoff run to really impress me because he's doing what MJ did.
Yeah.
Where MJ and a little bit of Akeem Olajuwon as well. I won't take away from him. Stopped a lot of people from getting championships, and
great players. You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Well, and let's be real. Someone said it. I think Dan Orlovsky, and he's not. I think he's not. I don't know if I totally agree. He called Josh Allen like the most talented and gifted quarterback he's ever seen, and Josh Allen is like just an amazing talent.
yeah, he's a super athletic dude.
And I'm starting to believe, like, you know what? Where some of these guys, when we're kind of hard on them, like he can't get. They're just playing the MJ. Like Mahomes
Yeah.
is that. Like, can I knock you? Like you're playing that because Josh Allen didn't play bad in that loss, and a few of these losses to the Chiefs, Josh Allen played great,
Yeah.
and they still can't get it done.
Yeah. No, he's beating some of the best, man. Like, again, you mentioned Josh Allen twice. You know what I'm saying? Like 2-0 against Josh Allen. I think he beat Andrew Luck that 2019 season. I'm trying to remember. I don't know if Andrew Luck was playing that game, but I think he was. I don't know. I would have to look at that. Deshaun Watson in the playoffs. He's beat Deshaun Watson. Probably the best NFC team the last 4 or 5 years have been the 49ers. You know what I mean? Like, he's beaten them twice. He's lost to
Beat
Burrow.
Lamar a couple times.
Beat Lamar a couple times. Yep, that was my next one. Like, it's the best players in the league. These guys are winning MVPs and things like that, man. And he's getting them. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's beating them, and even the Bengals, where he lost to the Bengals. What was it, 2022? Last year, the championship game, beats the Bengals. Like, so he's playing the best in his era, whatever you want to call it, man, and he's beating them all. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's not. I mean, man, like, if you look at it, it's ridiculous because like we saw this New England run, right? And again, like, it's yes, it was separated, but it's still an amazing dynasty and a run, man. But like, you would think I thought to myself, like, we're never going to see this again. You know what I mean? Like, and then we get this group here, and man, like, it's happening again. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and just some of the stuff that he's already done, like, and he's not even 30 years old yet. I mean, he's 28 years old, man, and 15 postseason wins. I think he's like third on that list, but he's like, I think Montana's has 16, who's third or second. Brady's like at 31, but he's right on Montana's heels there. Like, 3 Super Bowl MVPs, right up there. That's him. Him and Brady and Montana. You know what I mean? Have 3 Super Bowl MVPs. But he's the first one to do it, I think, before the age of 30. Like, I think I'm looking at this one thing here. It says he's the second player amongst the big 4 American, sports, NFL, baseball, basketball, hockey, to have 3 championship MVP awards before turning 29. The other one's Magic Johnson. Like,
Yeah, ESPN gave because like I think if you look at if we make it like 28, it's a couple. He's the only NFL guy. Like Stan Musial hits there. A couple other people. They were showing that this morning, but it's impressive what he's done. I think a couple hockey, like a hockey player, like, but he's the only NFL guy.
Yeah, he's 15-3, I think. 15-3 in the postseason. Like, he's 74-22, so that's like almost like a 772 win percentage. Like, it's outrageous, like Madden type numbers. And Madden, when you like boost up your guys on the like into a season, like you know what I'm saying, like it's ridiculous numbers. And you think about it, if this guy had a wide receiver this year, like what would he do? If they go out and get a guy next year, they go out against Stephon Diggs or somebody like that, and well, he's all right. But you know, you throw him on the Chiefs, and Mahomes is going to make him great. Like you know what I'm saying? Like so, it's just they have the potential offensively to get so much better. You know what I mean? If they get a tackle and a decent running back and like a serviceable wide receiver, and they draft a guy in the second, third round or something, like man, like it's going to be hard to stop these guys. The only thing that's going to stop these guys is injuries. You know what I mean? Like, and that can happen. You know, but another thing, he's a healthy dude. Like he's always healthy. You know, but they have an opportunity to go for that third one. They were already talking about that in post-game Super Bowl. So
I mean, it's making history.
yeah,
They talk about it. They want to make history, and
that'll carry a team too, man. Like you know what I'm saying? Like from the very start, if they that's the precedent they're trying to set, man. The guys will fall right in line to try to get that done, man. They have a shot for sure.
so it's you know, it's just going to be amazing. I think what we did with Andy Reid, we're going to be doing with Mahomes, where we're going to be
Yeah,
revisiting this a lot, just because he just really impressed me. Not that I wasn't, I knew he was a Hall of Famer going in like this season and stuff like but what he did during this run showed me when people were like, he's Michael Jordan-esque. I'm like, don't even say that. That's crazy. Now I'm like, yeah, this guy
yeah,
is.
yep. He's
He's
there.
a different level. He's mentally there, and it's just like I'm giving the way with MJ. Like, there's only a few guys, MJ, LeBron, Brady, Mahomes, where I give people passes. I'm like, I don't even. People want to slant Kyle Shanahan. People are and he made mistakes. I don't knock Kyle Shanahan because look who he went against.
Right.
Like, I'm just like a lot of things like that would have worked against every other quarterback, but just not him.
No. And there's another. I'm going to add another name into that list that you just gave us. He's a hockey player. It's Connor McDavid. That's another dude where I'm having the same conversation in my mind that I'm having with Patrick Mahomes, man. Like what that dude is doing in Edmonton and the numbers he's putting up, and he's just getting better and better and better. Like he's around the same age. Like
Is he doing? Is he going to do it in the playoffs though? Like
but
that?
that's yeah. There's no cups, so that's the difference there. But he'll get
Because
there
in
eventually.
baseball, Mike Trout could be someone like that, right? Possibly,
I didn't never. He was great,
and he's still playing.
but I don't know.
If
He's
Mike
not as
Trout
great.
had playoff opportunities and crushed it, right, we would say that. I
Yeah,
think because
yeah, I
people
think
are
so.
calling, and I think I'm kind of with you a little bit. Where I'm like, people, every ranking you see, he's like a top 20 all time play, and I'm like, really, Mike Trout top 20 all time?
Yeah,
But like a lot of people are saying, but I think like what hurts him is like, yeah, you don't see him a lot, and you never see him in the playoffs. So
right.
it's like,
And that's when you build
mm-hmm.
those moments. You know what I'm saying? Like, and again, that's what McDavid is missing is that Stanley Cup moment where he puts the team on his back and he's got everything else. But what separates like the Mahomeses and all these guys is they have the rings. You know, you got
That's
to do it.
true.
You got to do it in crunch time. You know.
Do you think Mahomes, when it's said and done, he'll be a guy we're looking at like greatest athletes ever? Like not just court athletes. Like are we gonna be talking about him with great athletes like Gretzky and these
Yeah,
guys?
I don't see why not. You know what I mean? Like I really don't. I mean because also on the field he can do it all. Like there's not a throw he can't make. Like he has one of the best arms I've seen. You know what I'm saying in a long time. Like reading defense, you can't blitz the Chiefs. Like you just cannot blitz them. He's going to make you pay. The 49ers were trying to blitz him in the second half. They paid the price. You know, like so the accuracy is there. You know, again, we were talking about his mobility and him being able to escape the pocket. It's got that. You know what I'm saying? Like if you need to run for a first down, he can still do that with no problem. You know what I mean? Like it, if he needs to dink and dunk you, he can read defenses like nobody else. Like he's the complete total package for a quarterback that you want. And he's got the height, the size, like everything. He checks all these boxes, you know, and I don't see why we could. I mean, because again, but to be in that list of the Gretzky's and MJ's and, you know, the Brady's at this point, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta win the titles, and they have a lot of those. So
No, and I'll say this is my last point. I think I've watched this, but I'm going to rewatch it because I've seen it with totally different eyes. The quarterback
yeah,
docu-series on Netflix, which was awesome. But Mahomes to me carried himself really like I didn't dislike. It wasn't cocky to the point where I don't like you, but I was like, this dude's. I was watching. I'm like, this dude's cocky. And I know he's compared to like Kirk Cousins, who's just like
yeah,
John Boy, apple pie and milk kind of guy, and Mariota's a quiet guy. So I'm like, maybe I'm like, is that it? 'Cause I didn't dislike him, but I was just like, this dude's really cocky, and he backs it up. And I'm like, but now I'm just seeing it differently, where I'm like, I think he he knows he's different. He knows he's
yeah.
that dude, and he knows he's on a different level than these guys. Like I'm
Throwing
looking,
no look passes, like
yeah. I'm just evaluating him in a lot different way. And I'm like, yeah, I think he's got that edge to him. Like he just knows it.
and that cockiness, I think, lends to if they're behind, the team's rallying behind them. It's like, no, we got this guy, we got 15, we're good. You know what I'm saying? He even has the number, like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's his number 5, like as a quarterback, like
Yeah,
15, like it's everything. It's all it all came together, man. Like he's got his own separate number where a lot of guys now you're going to see a lot of guys with 15 coming into the league
probably. Yeah,
because of guys like Mahomes and stuff.
yeah.
So it's all working out, man. It's almost too good to be true. But imagine having that as your quarterback for your favorite team, like, man.
No, because I think we can agree it is a dynasty. But I mean, we'll see what happens. It's not. We don't know when it's done. It's like the worst one, though. You know what I mean? That's why. But I give him more credit. Like it's like the 2020 Chiefs compared to those Patriot teams in 2010s. I'm like Patriots, the
Yeah,
2000 Patriots, 90s Cowboys, the Niners. So they're not like so. It's weird because I'm like this is a dynasty, but it's not like I'm not like greatest teams of all time. I'm naming any of them Chiefs teams. I'm like, I'm just not.
yeah,
So that kind of gives him more of an edge because I'm like, this is not like this
yeah.
team. There's no like great Chiefs team we've seen, honestly, in my opinion.
Right. And then the thing is, like, we talked about the teams he's played especially this year in the playoffs. It's different. Like, if Baltimore would have lost to like whoever, I don't even remember who they were playing, but whoever they played, right? And then
Houston.
Houston, and then the Chiefs go in there and then beat Houston. Like, then you're like, oh, well, they didn't play Baltimore. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you can't say none of that this year. Like, this year they played the Dolphins, and yeah, it was like, it was like fucking like 10 degrees, like whatever it was, but minus like 3 degrees, whatever. And that really hurt the Dolphins. And like but the Dolphins were frauds also, but ton of talent on that team. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were everybody's darling early in the year, and they were everybody's pick to go to the Super Bowl, but that didn't happen. Right. And then you go into Buffalo again, like Josh Allen playing out of his mind since like November. Doesn't happen. And that defense was playing well. You know, McDermott had that defense playing really well. And then you play Baltimore, Lamar MVP, best defense in the league. Doesn't happen. You go to the Super Bowl, second best defense in the league probably. Doesn't, and 4 all pros on the offensive side. Like, doesn't happen. Like, it's just, it was set up for them this year to lose, and he still carried them to the Super Bowl.
And I'll be honest, I know a lot of time with the Patriots, easy to hate. Patriot fans, easy to hate. I like this team a lot. I'm a fan of
Yeah,
a lot of these guys, and I love Chief King. I've always loved that fan
there's some of
base.
the best fans in the
Yeah,
world, dude. Like, one of the best home field advantages in all the NFL. I knew a couple guys that went out there for one of the Eagles games. One of the best tailgates in the
yeah.
league. Best food, great
Always hear
barbecue
it.
out there. Yeah, like, just a great fan base, man. Midwestern, like, very respectful. You can go to those games and wear your stuff, like, and be all right. You know what I
And
mean?
that's the
Like,
truth.
yeah. And it's just like, and good for them because we all seen them with like the Marty years and all that get so close, and then it's just like, nope, like
Yeah.
gotcha,
And that's where like the fan base I saw like in the '90s how great of a fan base
yeah,
for me, like seeing like wow, like man, imagine if they had a run. And they have a run, and let's be real. I'm not like I can't stand these Chiefs fans. Like I'm like, yeah, more power to you.
yeah, and even all this Taylor Swift stuff, and I know a lot of people hate it. I don't hate it either. Like,
I
you know what
love
I'm
it. I
saying?
think it's
Like,
great.
I think it's super cool. Like, and if she wants to do all that with him, like, and he can handle that, more power to him, man. Whatever's going to bring the league out, and he's got a ton of fans because of that relationship. She brings in a totally different dynamic. You know, there's so many women and that were watching the Super Bowl because of that
I'm
aspect of it.
I'm glad you said it because there's a couple things. A, she's iconic. She could have gone to a couple of games and like be cool. She was dedicated. Like I give her props. Like
Yeah,
you're on this historic tour, like literally the biggest music tour we've ever seen. And I've seen clips of her show. I know people who went to the show. That's an exhausting performance she's given. Like
yeah,
hours dancing and singing and this playing the piano and different instruments. I wouldn't knock her. She's like, I'm tired. She's flying across the world to be at Arrowhead or the game yesterday in Vegas. That's dedication. Like, give it props. Number one, in my opinion. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, give that
yeah.
props. Like, she could have gone to like that first Bears game and then that night game against the Jets and not shown up no more. She went, man, in the freezing cold. I would not have gone to that Dolphin game.
No,
I
no.
would have been like, I'll watch you at home, babe. I ain't going.
She threw on that Kelsey coat that whatchamacallit's wife made. That was pretty nice
That
jacket
was
too.
nice, yo. I'm
Yeah,
like, I'll take one of them.
yeah, yeah. She's the NFL like licensed her and stuff like that. So she makes
Yeah.
some nice stuff. But yeah, dude, I couldn't even get Shannon to come see one of my races. And that's like a half-hour ride, dude. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because it was cold or whatever it was. And I get it. It was just fine. I don't care.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like, I agree, man. Like, and I just think I know a lot of people hate it. She gets all this airtime. It's like 40 seconds in the game. Like, you know what I'm saying? Who cares, man? Like, let them do their thing, man. It's great for the league, man. It's a lot of popularity, man. Like, it's all about fun, man. Sports.
And I'll say this: it's nothing but sexism being
Yeah,
sexist
yeah.
because we love the game. How many times at Laker games do they show Jack Nicholson
Right.
over those years?
I don't hear anybody saying nothing about that.
Nothing about it. Spike Lee got it when him and Reggie were going, but that was him and Reggie going back and forth. They always show Spike now, every game. Always out here, no one being like, I'm tired of seeing Spike even. Like, but why are you picking on her?
Right.
That's just a sexist argument. Never heard anyone. Jack Nicholson's an icon. Always at the Laker game. Always showing Jack. No one ever complained.
Jessica Simpson, when she was dating Romo, like,
Mm-hmm.
they were killing her. Like, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like, and she was nowhere near, like, at all these games like Taylor Swift was. So it's BS, man.
Yeah, it's a sexist thing. And also, gotta give credit too, man. And it kind of connects. But it's like, as someone who loves history, I love sports history, I love pop culture history. I feel like in music, and I know you love music too. There's a lot of superstars. A lot of people you can even say are iconic, but there's a top tier. And I
Yeah.
always looked at it like Elvis, the Beatles, Michael Jackson. I could put Madonna.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing Taylor Swift and all those people, right? Either I wasn't alive when they were doing it, or for the others, their heyday, I didn't see their heyday. Like Michael Jackson, I saw in the 90s. Like, it still was huge, but I didn't see, like, Thriller Mania and all that stuff.
Right. We saw light skin Mike. Like,
Yeah. We saw Mike, like, we saw, like, Scream, him and Janet. Like,
yeah.
it's different. Yeah, it was, he wasn't the same. It's still a big deal. Wasn't the same, though. But, like, she went to another level with this tour this past year.
Yeah.
And she hit that strat. She was already iconic. We're seeing someone hit the Beatles and Michael Jackson level right in front of our eyes. It's insane. Like, it's insane. Like, you got to give props to that.
Yeah, and it's a long run too. Like, it's these little girls are becoming young women and are able to like afford all this stuff, and You got moms. I was watching when she was in Philly. I remember, you know, they were like outside at like 7 in the morning, like because they were selling the memorabilia, and that's when the only time you can get it. And they were buying hoodies, and you could sell that hoodie for like $300, like online on eBay or whatever. It's insane, man. And again, to tie it back in, like if that dude can handle that and she can handle that, then more power to them. And they made it kind of cool to go to an NFL game, man. And it's all good to me, man. Like I don't get it, but whatever.
I just think it's crazy because you got to give props because in today's world, there's hardly anything bigger than the NFL. And it's like, wow, we saw something.
Yep.
She is bigger than the NFL. And I can critique Raj on a lot of things. I don't critique him at all for showing the hell out of her because I'm like, yeah, she moves the needle at a time where it's near impossible to move the needle.
Dude, his jersey sales went up like 200%, man, when he started dating her. And it's not because dudes were buying them. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody already had the jersey. If you wanted the Travis Kelce jersey, you probably already had it. This is a totally different fan base that came over in a big wave. And the one person who they knew was Kelce, so.
Nah, I just laugh because I just want people to remember that first game that she went to, they're playing the awful Bears. If she don't go to that game, I bet you Chief fans and Bears fans don't even talk. They like, yeah, Bears fans like, we lost. Chiefs fans, we killed them next. No one cared about that game until she went.
Yeah.
The next game, right? Sunday Night Football at the Jets. Aaron Rodgers, he's out for the year. We got Pat Mahomes and Kelce against freaking Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't watch that game. Like, and that game actually became like a good game.
It was a good game, yeah.
But like Zach Wilson, one of the worst. Talk about one of the best and one of the worst starting QBs I've ever seen in my life. Zach Wilson, like one of the worst. Like where he has me looking at NFL GMs, going, "How did y'all not see this? Like, how did he get by y'all?"
Mm-hmm.
Like he's not Manziel level, but it's like, ooh, he's close. He's terrible. It's like, yo, she was a big reason I watched that game because I'm like, I'm going into it thinking, why didn't you flex this game out? This is terrible.
Right. And
so
that's
I'm
why.
like, yeah, Taylor Swift was like the reason why. I'm like, yeah, smart move, NFL. So it's just been I'm a big fan of it, man. And
me too.
We're Eagle fans, but if the Eagles can't do it with the Andy Reid connection and seeing greatness and all this stuff and a fan base that I got so much respect for, I'm cool with the Chiefs doing their thing.
And Pacheco's Puerto Rican. Don't let that slide. He was walking.
You already mentioned. That's why. Yeah, I know.
He
had the flag on yesterday.
He had the flag on. Yeah, he was representing. So I give him his props.
So, nah, man, this is fun though, and we got a lot of great content coming up, and I'm just pumped for it, man. So, thank you guys for listening and watching. Please let us know what you think. Are we not giving Mahomes enough credit? Is he number one right now to you?
Right.
Is he not? Are we crazy for calling him top 5? Hit us up on Twitter or X at Bigger Game Pod, and same on Instagram. Follow us there at Bigger Game Pod, and let us know what you think.
Yeah, check us out on YouTube. You can watch this episode and watch many episodes that we have on our YouTube channel at Bigger Than the Game with Deremy and Jose. We'll drop this on there. If you leave a comments on there, let us know what you think. Is Mahomes the best quarterback of all time? Is he top 5 like Deremy and Deremy have him? Like, let us know what you think. We'll be more than happy to talk about that stuff.
So, for the man, the myth, the legend, the man who loves to fight for his right to party, Mr. Jose Ruiz, I'm Deremy Dove. Thank you guys for listening to Bigger Than the Game with Deremy and Jose.
Peace.